everybody, welcome back to Lost Game Chronicles. My name is Kelly, and today I'll be reviewing my 5 favorite games I played on the channel in April 2024. Let's get started. At number 5, we have Foundation. Foundation is an early access medieval city builder that has some wonderful innovations on typical city builder design. I feel a little bad having this game at number 5 because it's actually a great game, and there's nothing objectively wrong with it that would have it lower than any of the other games on this list. It's got some really cool ideas about how to add to what you typically find in terms of mechanics in city builders, including things like painting zones, modular buildings, and the way that you build out your town is quite different than what you would find in most city builders. I just couldn't justify putting it higher because, to be honest, I just didn't enjoy it as much as a game like Ostriv, which I played in my first ever video on this channel. That's not to say that everyone would feel the same. I think that this game definitely has a place in the city building genre, and that there may be some people who even like it better. I may even be an outlier here. I don't know. But I really do like the process of placing individual houses and sort of micromanaging the town as it grows, and I felt like that was sort of the thing that I was missing as I was playing this game. I found that I was spending a lot of my time watching people work, which is totally fine, and definitely a more laid-back approach to city building. The focus seems to be more on macro things like trading and on growth, which is totally fine. Having said that, I didn't find any major bugs as I was playing this. The game seems very, very polished. I really, really wanted to love it. It just didn't quite enchant me the way that some games do. This game is very solid for early access, though. I loved the graphics. I actually really enjoyed the process of unlocking new buildings. I liked the graphics for just sitting and watching the people do their work, how they would, sit on the benches that you create, or they would, just have a lie down under the trees. I thought that was really cool. This is still in early access too, so most likely things will change and improve on what is already good about this game as time goes on. It's definitely worth checking out if you enjoy city builders. There's lots of unique design aspects that may make it the perfect game for you, so go ahead and check it out on Steam if you think you might like this. At number 4, we have Pacific Drive. Pacific Drive is a pseudo-survival horror game where you use a supernatural car to explore an exclusion zone where matter frequently changes forms without any notice at all. This game is mission-based, so you will return to your base camp after each mission where you can repair and improve your car and prepare for the next trip into the exclusion zone. The game checks a lot of boxes for me as a survival game enthusiast. There are loads of things to loot, and scrapping cars is super satisfying. The zones populate differently each time you visit them, making it almost roguelike in the experience, since the zones won't ever hold exactly the same hazards twice. There are various different anomalies that can generate in each zone, and the most terrifying that I personally encountered was the random mannequins that appear in the woods and move when you aren't watching them. It was a phobia I didn't realize I had before I played this game, and I'm pretty sure I'm forever traumatized by that experience, even though my personal experience with them was relatively benign, other than just being really freaked out by them. This game could easily have made it higher on the list, and it may well deserve to be. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too horror action for me, to a point that I found it a little bit stressful at times. It wasn't helped by being first person. As some of you may know, I get really motion sick in some games, particularly first person games. I didn't find this game to be bad in that regard. It had a lot of options that allowed me to switch things up to make it playable. But The combination with my aversion to like true horror games, I just kind of got spooked off of it, to be honest. And I'm just not very good with controllers, so I was using mouse and keyboard. All of those things to say, this is a great game. It has some really, really fun things going on in it. There's some fun characters, a really engaging story. It's just not quite the game for me, but I've ranked it at number 4 because I think that there are a lot of people out there who would absolutely adore this game. I loved fixing up the car, and as a person who loves hoarding loot in any game, I really found that quite fun. The only thing I really struggled with was some graphics issues and a little bit of lag. Supposedly, according to the forums that I looked at, this is a known issue that this game lags a little bit, but I suspect there was probably a combination of things happening there, between the game possibly having some minor issues in that regard and my own computer needing a bit of a tune-up. So take that with a grain of salt. It very well might run just fine on your computer. Just maybe do your research ahead of time. So I definitely recommend this for anyone who likes feeling spooked and who likes that first-person survival experience. This is a very solid game. Go check it out on Steam. At number 3, we have Spellcaster University. I actually fell in love with this game. This is a game where you build your very own school of magic by drawing and building from 6 decks of cards. Each card that you draw has either a room, an item, a creature, or some other thing that you can put into your school to make it more efficient and prestigious as a magic school in the limited amount of time that you have. At the end of that timer, the Lord of Evil attacks, destroying your school, and you have to move on to a new location and start over. Each student who graduates from your school gives you a bonus. Some of them are immediate, such as currency, that allows you to draw more cards from certain decks, while others are long-term, such as a 0.5% bonus to damage dealt, which will slowly stack over time. These bonuses are based on what kind of career each of your graduates gets. Any bonus you gained from your previous playthroughs will carry over to your new school when the old one is destroyed. So as I said, I really liked this game. It's very chill. There's no such thing as a mistake, really, because of the restart mechanic. It very much relies on your creativity and the vision for your school. There are multiple different zones you can build in, so no run is exactly the same, and each zone has its own challenges associated with it. In addition to just building out the school, you can also get quests to explore dungeons. I didn't get around to doing any of this in my YouTube playthrough, but I did do it on my own time. The dungeons are kind of like auto-battler arenas, where you pick a set of students with different strengths and weaknesses based on what you've taught them so far in your school, and you have to get through a dungeon's gauntlet, making decisions about how to proceed along the way. The game has super cute animations and graphics. The whole gameplay loop is just really, really satisfying. It's definitely something that I would recommend to anyone who likes chill, relaxing gameplay in sort of a fantasy style setting. It's really satisfying with a really low barrier to entry. This game is also developed by an indie studio, so go check them out if you think that this might be something that you'd like. In number 2, we have The Case of the Golden Idol. This is an indie game, and it's a point-and-click adventure, which I believe is the first point-and-click adventure that we've played on this channel. The whole aesthetic of this game is reminiscent of the olden times point-and-click adventures with the pixel art and everything. I really think that adds to the nostalgic feel of this game. In general, I'm not really a fan of this genre because as a person with ADHD, I find the process of pixel hunting to just be way too tedious for me. But this game's recommended mode actually shows you where all the interactable objects are. However, if you still want to play without the hints, you can go full pixel hunting mode, and that's perfectly valid way to play this game as well. I called this an adventure game, but it's really more of a mystery game. You interact with the story through a series of mysterious deaths, and for each one, you are asked to identify the people in the scene and the locations based on context clues and determine the cause of death of each of the victims. I honestly had a blast playing this. Anyone who enjoys exercising their power of deduction will probably enjoy this game. All the solutions seemed very logical to me, and the cases got progressively more difficult and complicated as the story continued. I really can't say enough good things about this. It's not the high-octane gaming that some people might enjoy, but if you're the type of person who likes to take their time to examine a situation and to try and determine a series of events with limited information, this is really, really enjoyable. So if that's something that resonates with you, go check it out. And at number 1, it's going to be A Short Hike. This game was a big surprise to me. It's one of my favorite things about running this channel, actually, is when I play a game that I wasn't expecting to love, and then I discover that I love it. To begin with, I was a bit put off by its recommendation for controller, since that's not really my preferable way of gaming, but I'm very, very glad that I played it through. It actually runs very well on controller, and it's not a particularly difficult game to get your head around from that perspective. A Short Hike is another indie pixel art game, the second one on this list, with serious farm game vibes, but without the farming. In this game, you explore an island that's filled with colorful characters, each one with their own little story. The goal of the game is to climb the island's mountain, but arguably it's the journey of exploring the island that's the highlight of this game. The writing is genuinely really funny. It's extremely lighthearted. There's almost a childlike joy that sort of infuses every corner of this game. Nearly every aspect of the game is optional. You can fish, you can explore, you can dig for metal items on the beach, or you could mine, but none of it is required to finish the game. Collecting golden feathers is the primary task that you have that allows you to progress towards the end of the game. The more feathers you have, the better you become at climbing, which is a necessary skill to reach the top of Hawk Peak. From there, you get this lovely, wholesome little bit of story that I found to be extremely touching. And after that, you have the option to either call it quits or to continue exploring and collecting items and achievements. If you like feel-good RPGs, this is probably one of the best ones I've played since Stardew Valley. Everything is optional. It can be a very, very short game, or it could be a really drawn-out, full experience. The writing is wonderful, and it really just brought me back to my childhood in all of the best ways, while managing not to become childish. If you might enjoy this, please go check it out. It's available on Steam for PC, but I believe it's also available on most handheld consoles as well, if you're interested in playing it that way. And this month, I do have one honorable mention, and that's going to be Prehistoric Kingdom. I absolutely love this game. If you watched my episode on it, then I've already said most of what needs to be said about this game, but here are my thoughts. This game is absolutely stunning. It's very much has that Zoo Tycoon Planet Zoo feel to it, and I really think it's going to be fantastic when it's finished. It's worth noting that I never did figure out how to get guests into the park, but I did look into this game more after I played it, and guests are definitely in the current early access version. That said, everything that I talked about in the episode still stands. The game is fairly bare bones, but definitely worth keeping an eye on. I'm so glad someone is actually making just a really simple, to-the-point dinosaur park game with awesome graphics so we can all just make exhibits for cool dinosaurs and then watch them run around and scare people. It needs a lot more development time, but this is a game I'm going to be watching very closely over the next year or so because it's got a load of potential. As it is, if you just want to get into a game and look at these really beautifully rendered dinosaurs, that part of the game is very well developed. It's clear that a lot of love and effort has gone into making these dinosaurs look stunning. It's available in early access on Steam right now, so if you want to support these devs, you can absolutely go do that, and I'm sure that they'll very much appreciate it. If you're wanting a finished game though, I'd recommend waiting a little longer until it's a little bit more fleshed out. I can't wait to see what the devs do with this game going forward. It's going to be great. And that's our top 5 for this month, and our one honorable mention. Every game I mentioned on the list this month is an indie game, which I believe is a first for our channel. I absolutely love supporting indie games. This is one of the things that I'd really hoped to be able to do a lot of on this channel when I started it, particularly for smaller and less well-known games. And I feel like this month I was really able to find a good balance for that. So let me know in the comments what you thought. Did you agree with the top 5? Are you happy with this being a top 5 rather than a top 10? And of course, as always, if you have suggestions for games that I could play, please do let me know. If you enjoyed this, please drop a like and consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. As always, thank you so much for your support, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!